All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for a Q&A with Women's Enterprise Center. I'm Alec Wheeler. I'm the Events and Membership Manager with the Duncan Cowichan Chamber of Commerce. And we have with us today Danielle from Women's Enterprise Center, and she's coming to us from Kelowna. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. And we have John, who is here with us today on Vancouver Island in Victoria. And we were saying earlier when they logged in, we were just admiring your extensive library there. And I want to know if you have read every single one of those books in your library.
I have not.
So it's an inspiration library.
It's totally inspiration.
Great, excellent. So Women's Enterprise Center, for those of you who aren't familiar with the organization, is their main office is based out of Kelowna. Is that right, ladies?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. But you have advisors and members of your team who are located all over BC, including here on Vancouver Island. And Women's Enterprise is a nonprofit organization devoted to helping BC women start, lead, and grow their own businesses. Their full range of services includes business loans up to $150,000 with access up to an additional $100,000 through a partnership with Business Development Canada. We're going to turn it over to Danielle shortly here, but before we do, I'll just say that there is an opportunity to ask questions either through the chat window during the presentation or write your questions down and we can chat afterwards. I'm going to be helping Dawn run her presentation today and admitting people if anybody shows up later on. So if there's a little bit of a hiccup in the slide moving forward, just bear with me. That's on me, not Dawn. And I'll leave it there and I'll turn it over to Danielle.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alec, for that warm introduction and welcome to everyone. Alec, if we could get the slides up, that would be awesome, and then everyone can follow along. It's really an amazing opportunity to be able to speak with the women business owners in the Duncan Cowichan area and wherever you may be. I am in Kelowna, and our head office is located on the unceded territories of the Okanagan and Syilx people. So I invite you to take a moment and identify where it is you're joining us from around BC and acknowledge the beautiful land that we're on. Today we will be talking about Women's Enterprise Center, and it's really my pleasure to introduce Dawn McCooey. She is a business advisor with Women's Enterprise Center, and when I first started with Women's Enterprise Center just over 5 years ago, I was so impressed with Dawn because I read on her bio that she was named Best Boss in Victoria. She ran a company for over 18 years. She managed 32 employees out of 3 offices. And she also authored an Amazon bestseller, which is titled Keeping Good Employees on Board. And I just thought, oh, I would love to work with Dawn. And here we are doing a co-presentation. So it's an honor to be here working with Dawn. She is a business advisor. She provides that one-on-one complimentary business guidance that is part of our service. She also helps on the loans team. We've got an extra loan program that we'll tell you about to help those businesses that have been impacted by the COVID pandemic. And another really interesting thing about Dawn is she has a master's degree in leadership and training at Royal Roads, and she's really used that in the way she works with clients. So it's an absolute pleasure to introduce Dawn McCooey to you all, and I'll let her take it from here with this presentation.
Thank you so much, Danielle. I tell you, I'm blushing. That's not the usual introduction. That's so kind of you. And you know, it's mutual. We're this mutual benefit society where we really do appreciate one another. And I really appreciate Danielle's, all of the work that she does. But you know, as an outreach person, these opportunities would not even exist if it wasn't for the work that Danielle does. And she is a facilitator to emulate. She's mastered it, and I've learned some things from you, Danielle. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Introduction. Yes, Women's Enterprise Center. And as Danielle and Alec have explained, you do have an opportunity for questions. So, you know, by all means, in the chat, we're a nice small group, so there's lots of opportunity to ask questions as we go along, and certainly at the end. So think about questions as we go along. Growing successful women entrepreneurs throughout BC, that is what we do. And you've had your welcome. Welcome, welcome. A double welcome to all of you, and thanks for joining us. I hope you come away today with some good information and the knowledge that there are resources available to you. That's the key thing. Women entrepreneurs are special. We know that, and I'll talk more about it. Next slide, please. So our plan today is really quite simple. We've got an hour, and it's an opportunity to really look at, you know, who is Women's Enterprise Center, what do we offer, give you an opportunity. We're going to share a success story and give you an opportunity to ask some questions. So quite straightforward. Next slide. So who we are. Our place in what we call the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We are a not-for-profit, and we're devoted to helping BC women to start a business, lead their business, grow their business, with, as Alec mentioned, offices in Vancouver, Victoria, and Kelowna. And I really want to emphasize, we have business advisors in other areas of Vancouver Island, and contacts for you as well in Nanaimo, in Courtney. So we've got some good island connection for you. We provide a holistic approach to support, offering access to capital. That's a key one. Building your capacity, developing your skills through, we do many webinars and live, as well as live training, not so much live lately, and support with access to other resources. And we are celebrating, we've been around for a while, 25 years, in fact, in 2020. How many, just by a show of hands, how many have heard of Women's Enterprise Center before today? There's some information. How many of you, and I'm gonna say, yeah, hey, we got the hands up, new Zoom tools happening here. Thank you, Nanette. So yes, it's, you know, we've been around a long time. We're still, you know, we're a mighty, but still small organization. How do we do it? How do we do what we do? What do we do? We have business loans up to $150,000. Plus, again, as Alec mentioned, with access to an additional $100,000 in that partnership with Business Development Canada. We also offer, and it's free, business advice. You know, that if you're starting a business or growing your business, or just needing access to, you know, how do I develop a marketing plan? That's where a business advisor can support you. We can't do it for you, but we can definitely help you and give you some steps, and maybe share an example of someone in the same kind of business in another part of BC to help you to access whatever it is that you need. We don't pretend to have all the answers, but we will help you to find the answer. Business skills training, that's our, all of the various ways that we do it. We do it through webinar. We do it through online resources that you can download. We have self-study guides, lots of ways of delivering training. We partner with people like the Duncan Cowichan Chamber of Commerce. These kinds of partnerships, so that we can support one another, is exactly how we're able to deliver skills all across the province with over 100 partners. That's what Danielle does, is making all of that outreach connection with the various partners who have similar goals. Together we're stronger is really our motto. We have mentoring connections. I'm going to talk a bit more about that as we go along, but really connecting women entrepreneurs with women entrepreneurs, either one-to-one in a traditional match or in our peer mentoring groups. And you know, maybe more important than ever right now, during COVID and these unprecedented times, Women's Enterprise Center provides a supportive community. Somewhere you don't need to do it live, you can do it from our website, access resources that really help you in your business to not feel so alone. We're helping with networking, and we definitely profile our women entrepreneurs. You can see from all of this slide, for example, we're always showcasing our clients. I want to talk about our lending philosophy because we are different. We look beyond the numbers. So we have more of that. Remember I mentioned earlier that holistic way of looking at a loan. We focus on viability and business plan, sometimes called a viability lender. So we're not a formula lender, we're a viability lender. Is this viable? We don't have a minimum credit score, again, because we're looking at the whole picture. And we provide all of our loans clients with free ongoing support, advice from your personal business advisor. All of the workshops and resources for our loans client are free of charge, as well as an access to a one-to-one mentor. So the loan isn't, here's the money, goodbye, good luck, I hope it works. No, the support is there throughout the growth of your business. Next slide, please. So we mentioned up to $150,000. We've done loans as low as $10,000, but generally they're between $10,000 and $150,000. And again, it may be to buy a business, it may be to grow your business, or to start. Any of that along that continuum. The eligibility, and this is news to most people. Wouldn't you say, Danielle, when we talk about that 50-50 or that 51-49, that's often news to people. As long as the business is 51% women owned and controlled. So lots of our clients are husband-wife teams. As long as the woman owns, in the husband and wife arrangement, as long as the woman owns and has operating control of 50% of the business. If it's a corporation where the partners are not related, she needs to own 51%. Okay, that's news for most people. We partner with other lenders. We mentioned Business Development Canada or Business Development Bank, same organization. But also with Community Futures. We work with Community Futures in Duncan. Your Community Futures office, sometimes we can share the risk, for example, in a startup business with Community Futures and Women's Enterprise. So we don't compete with the other lenders, we often work together. Van City is another partnership that we work very closely with. We have what we call EAC, Equal Access to Capital Loans, which is available to immigrants, to Indigenous women, to youth. And that equal access to capital is up to $50,000 and where there is no security required. So it's dependent on other things, and I can answer any questions about that. But yeah, and our next slide. You've probably heard of all of the different programs. There are so many programs out there since COVID hit. Starting in early April, our government started announcing, CEBA, CECRA, CUES, it goes on and on, all these acronyms, and it gets confusing about what are all of these different programs and how do they fit for my small business. Women's Enterprise Center has done, I would say, a really excellent job of helping entrepreneurs to sort their way through all these different programs. But one of the ones that we are administering directly, so we are directly responsible for the funds on what is called Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. The application for this particular loan program is on our website. There's 3 questions that you answer, and then you can access the application. It's really important to kind of understand how this might be different from CEBA. So if your business accessed CEBA, you would not also be able to access the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. They are very similar, with very similar goals, which is to help small business survive COVID. It is support for financial hardship and economic disruption over COVID-19. And those loans are up to $40,000 for women-owned businesses. The key with, this is really interesting with my accent, trying to say Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, especially when we call it the RRRF. But you know what I'm saying, you can see the slide. Is the key with this particular loan is it's for existing businesses. So if your business started in April 2020, you would not qualify for the Regional Relief and Recovery. You might not qualify if your business started in January 2020, unless you had really strong revenues, which then went down in March or April. Because the key here is the business must be able to prove viability. In other words, you were operating in the black before COVID hit. That's a key piece with this RRRF fund.
And Dawn, if I could ask a question, so what can you tell us a little bit about the grant portion of this loan, and how does that work?
Absolutely. So the grant, there is a grant portion of this $40,000 loan. So 10% of the amount that is borrowed may be forgivable. 10%. So if you qualified for the full $40,000, that means $10,000 you may not have to pay back, as long as you have paid back the funds by December 2025. I have that right? No, I don't have that right.
25%. It's 25% of the loan, but you've got the number right.
Okay, did I say 10?
10%, but it's easy to say that because, you know, it's $10,000 that can be a grant. So yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's 25%. So 10,000 for 40. If you only borrow 10,000, you get 2,500 that you don't have to pay back. Correct. Thank you, Danielle. See why it's so nice to have a backup? So yes, 25% is forgivable if you're able to pay it back. The first year is interest-free. So that's that recovery, to be able to provide the funds to a viable business that's struggling to pay the bills, is what that loan was designed for. Okay, next slide, please. And think about questions you have about that as we're going along, because I'm happy to come back and answer, because we're a small group, to answer individual questions about that loan fund, either for you or for someone else that you know. Mentoring. Mentoring is a big pillar of the services that we provide as well. It's really about building confidence, building business knowledge, and providing that support. Women's Enterprise Center is different because we understand that business for women is different. Alec, you said it at the very beginning of our session, I think even before we really started today. Women are juggling a lot of balls, right? And Alec, I want to thank you for that, because it's a great analogy. Women entrepreneurs tend to have the responsibilities of family as well as business, as well as, now in, education, online education for their children. It's a lot of balls in the air. And I want to tell you, when I was running my business with 32 staff in 3 offices, 3 children in elementary school, and doing a full-time master's degree program, I learned this great analogy. When you are juggling so many balls, you have to be very clear which are rubber and which are glass. So some of those balls can drop, and some are glass that you absolutely know are your priorities that you have to keep in the air. And it's a great analogy for women entrepreneurs. And mentoring is really about supporting, understanding those challenges that women entrepreneurs have in those first few years of business. So it's understanding about the juggling. It's understanding the confidence building. And Danielle's done some great workshops on, just understanding that confidence gap and building skills that are related to some of those soft skills by being supported by other women entrepreneurs. Looks like a question came up about mentoring, Danielle. Do you want to jump in with that?
Yeah, so the question here, thanks Tanya, is does mentoring and loan go hand in hand? So I'm wondering if Tanya's thinking that, okay, I can only get a mentor if I have a loan.
Great question. Mentoring and loans do go hand in hand. Whereas if you are a loan client, you automatically you can apply for a mentor, and we will match you with a one-on-one mentor, and it's free of charge. If you are not a loans client, you can apply to our mentoring program. And the cost is normally $150 for 6 months of mentoring. We've been doing a lot of free programming since COVID, and our spring one-to-one mentoring will be coming up, where we do the 1 week where the open applications and you apply at that point. So the trick with mentoring is to subscribe to our e-news, and that'll keep you in the loop on when the next mentoring intake is happening. We do have a peer mentoring group coming up in Victoria. And so the applications are being accepted for that peer mentoring group right now. And the one-on-one mentoring is 3 to 4 times a year. There's a week-long intake where you submit applications, and the mentoring coordinator then matches the entrepreneur with the new business. So one-on-one mentoring. Peer mentoring is, as I mentioned, those are the groups. We do those all over BC. Your organization or your affiliates may want a peer mentoring group, and that would be a reach out to Danielle. Is that right, Danielle?
Yeah, and I wanted to say that with this peer mentoring group in the Greater Victoria area, Duncan is actually one of the cities that is included in that program. So if you are in the Duncan area, that is included. So if I could just take a moment and list the communities that are included in this kind of pocket for this virtual mentoring group, that I'll just take that moment right now. So there's Colwood, Saanich, Langford, B Royal, Esquimalt, Oak Bay, Sydney, Duncan, Sooke, and Port Renfrew. So that's kind of the area.
Danielle, can I jump in and just ask a quick question? So Duncan's included, but of course in the Cowichan we have other communities that identify a little bit differently. So we've got Mill Bay, Shawnigan, Cobble Hill, Cowichan Bay. Those are all south of Duncan, so towards Victoria. Is that included as well?
I'm nodding yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would be part of the greater, yeah, and it's even closer than Duncan, and especially the fact that it's virtual.
Okay.
The groups are virtual, makes it easier for that access.
And maybe if, you know, maybe if you can't answer the question right now, but I'd be interested to know where that sort of cutoff is, because north of Duncan, we have Chemainus as an example, Crofton, which are sort of part of our area, but yeah.
Yeah, I would guesstimate that we wouldn't be able to go north of Duncan for a Victoria group. But doesn't mean that there couldn't be a group north of Duncan.
There's a group starting that's closer to Nanaimo that's going to be in a couple months. So I can send you, Alec, that program as well. So
Perfect.
Yeah,
because just from the Duncan Cowichan Chamber perspective, our reach is sort of Ladysmith, which is north all the way to Malahat, really. So
Great, thank you. The peer mentoring groups are, as I mentioned, they last 6 months. There's 6 sessions. Depending on the facilitator, they might do them once every 2 weeks. Depends on what the group and the facilitator decide of how they set those up. But they're generally 2 hours long, and over a 6-month period, meeting either once a month or meeting once every 2 weeks for a shorter period. But it's a unique model of mentoring. It's not a mastermind group. It's not a get together and have coffee. It really is focusing on your business and other people's business in your group to really work on what do you need help with. So it moves out of a theorizing model where, you know, today we're going to talk about marketing. No, it's really much more focused on the individuals in the group and what is needed. So very much individualized. It's a great program. We've been doing mentoring for about 9 years at Women's Enterprise Center, and just amazing things happen when women have that kind of synergy. Danielle, I'm going to have you talk about Taking the Stage.
Yes, so Taking the Stage is a really exciting program where we have partnered with the Humphrey Group. And the Humphrey Group are absolute experts on leadership and communication. So usually I've heard this program quoted at about $5,000 to take it from the Humphrey Group, but they've given us a special relationship contract where we meet over 5 sessions and we talk about how to identify our leadership identity, and then through that, how to communicate that in our businesses and with the people we work with. So that also is a peer mentoring type of format. It is a little bit more specific in the sense that it's about communication, and that is $150 from start to finish. You get a book, you get learning guides, there's videos, it's a lot of content, and it really helps you learn how to speak. And say, for example, you need to make a speech, it literally has how to write a speech, how to talk about your business. So it's a really great program. And as we go into the new year, we're going to have more groups happen. So if that's something of interest, we always build these programs around who is interested in them. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, we'll have our information at the end and we can look at having a group in your area.
Mm-hmm. Because we know mentoring has an effect. And there it is, there's the slide, the mentoring effect. So you can see this is a great shot of women coming together and solving problems with amazing synergy. But we've got over 150 active mentors all over BC. And our active mentors are women in business. They've been in business more than 5 years, and they're sharing their expertise. And as some mentors say, you know, helping businesses in the early stage not make the same mistakes that I made. You know, how about learn from, we all make mistakes. And the beautiful thing about mentors is they share in that humility space of, you know, this is what not to do in business. And so don't you make those mistakes. That's kind of a wonderful a piece of mentorship. Over 1,250 mentoring participants since 2007. That's a lot more than 9 years. Where did the other 8 go? And 32% of our mentees who participate with a mentor hire new staff after the mentoring. So it just shows you that there's that direct connection to business growth. In all of the studies, there are so many out there, but all of the studies that show about the value of a mentor, the mentor effect. So businesses are growing. 92% of the mentees and 95% of the mentors say they would recommend the WEC mentoring program. So it really comes with you know, thousands and thousands of testimonials. And if you look at this last piece, 95% of the mentees feel confident in their business skills. So it's really learning some of the stuff that sounds like, I don't want to take a course on managing my finances, but wow, I sure could use some help. Or, you know, I don't want to take a whole, you know, 6 months of training on how to do a marketing plan, but here's some, you know, 3 hours of terrific tips from someone who's done it. Great program. Compared to 39%. So it's that confidence boost. And again, women entrepreneurs tend to say things like, oh, you know, I don't think I'm the right person for that. Or I don't think I'm good enough to be able to, you know, compete with the big box stores. So we can change that. You can change that. Business skills training, that's a huge piece of the work of Women's Enterprise Center. Workshops that deliver results. You know, again, it's not, it's very skills based. It's called skills development. A training manager is not a training manager. She's a skills development manager because she's helping women entrepreneurs to develop skills that are important to their business. Essential skills for the successful operation of a business.
Can I jump in here, Dawn, just with a little bit of a testimonial? I jumped in on one of your webinars, building a website webinar.
Yes.
Where you had webnames.ca presenting in that, and not only was the information, like you said, jam-packed in a short period of time with really key pieces of information and tips. But I actually have engaged with webnames.ca after, and their follow-up, I think, is a real testament to the partnerships that you develop through your training programs. The second that they heard that I was participating in that thing, they were just so generous with the information and with the follow-up. And so I just want to say kudos to you. I'm involved in a ton of webinars, especially if we're looking at partnering with different organizations. And one of the best I have participated in terms of delivery, content, and follow-up support. So just a testimonial there.
Wow. And we didn't pay you to say that.
No.
It's just, I really, really appreciate that, you know, that feedback, because, you know, we know that our training is good. And we are, you know, small, and we do it for free. We're doing all of these for free. There's no charge for these webinars at this COVID time. And even in times when we have charged, it's been very nominal amounts. Most of our webinars are free of charge. And, you know, we've been we've been providing them for many, many years. And yeah, it's nice to hear that feedback, Alec. Thank you. Yes, we know that, you know, people like our training. We do follow-ups and evaluations, and 99% of our participants rate our training as directly applicable to their business. So you walk away with things that you can do. You walk away with, here's something I can do tomorrow, in a more of a step-by-step, rather than go build a business plan, or go create a marketing plan. It's like, whoa, where do I start? So, you know, that applicable, pragmatic, what do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do next. You know, a lot of our training really has those key components. All right, our next slide. We want to show a success story, and right from your community, Cate Scally Small Block Brewery. So one of the things that we do when we have a client that we're working with, we ask a loans client, we ask their permission, and they sign off to say, yes, we can talk about them. You know, so we like to promote our small business clients. We like to, you'll see again on our website, on all of our promotional materials, on all of our written materials, we highlight our clients. That again is where we're different than a bank. So Cate came with us originally. She started by, just a minute, my vision here is not so great. Brewing beer at home is how she started, and did that with a friend and with her partner. And she saw an opportunity to turn that into a business. Now that's not a small feat, you know, home brewing to a brewery. It's amazing. So WEC provided that startup loan to turn the empty retail space into a brewery. And it's a brand new retail space, and they're not only brewing beer, but they're also partnering with food trucks. So there's a great, what we call a strategic alliance with the food truck community in your community, so they can sell beer. You can have tacos with it, or whatever is the food truck of the evening. And they're also in so many liquor stores and other retail outlets throughout BC. So it's a real success story in starting from an idea to getting the business advising, the support, the finances to actually move into that launch. So it's not a small business. It's a big business to be able to launch a brewery. And Cate is really one of only 3 master female brewers in BC. So we're proud of the work that she's doing, and love to highlight what she's doing right there in your community.
Yeah, and I just wanted to jump in that the text on the slide disappeared for some reason, but she did get a startup loan with Women's Enterprise Center, so that was one of the key services that she got. And then she also got the business advising for the startup phase as well as through the growth. So apologies for that disappearing on the slide.
We'll double check the PDF version before we send it out, and just make sure that that's there.
Perfect.
So great. Again, on our website, you'll see so many success stories and examples. We say for women entrepreneurs, often women entrepreneurs, they don't see that success. We did a poll, actually commissioned some research about 6 years ago, asking, doing actually a full-on poll of people in BC. And one of the questions that was asked is, can you name a successful woman entrepreneur? Can you name a successful woman entrepreneur? And of all the households that were contacted by this polling company, it was, I don't remember the exact number, I think it was 87, it was a high 80s, I believe it was 87% of the respondents could not name a successful woman entrepreneur. So, you know, that really highlighting successful women entrepreneurs is an important part of advancing women entrepreneurs across BC. We love to show success.
I want to jump in on that because I think there's such important societal, cultural, you know, psychological aspects to that. In that, you know, women, I think a lot have been told not to stand up and own their successes because it's considered, you know, showing off or being dominant or bragging, whereas our male counterparts do the same, and it's not considered that way. So yeah, I applaud the research that was done to look into that, and the efforts that are being made to highlight and help women kind of stand up and claim that success and be more vocal about it, and not feel apologetic or not feel that we have to be quietly successful. So encouraging to see.
I love that example, quietly successful, that we don't have to feel that we have to be quietly successful. You know, we take that word bragging, right? And this is part of that confidence piece that is so important with taking the stage, and with mentoring and with business advising, is really encouraging that, building the confidence. Women will say, you know, if you did you make that? Oh yeah, I did, but I wrecked the seam on the cuff. And we do that in business, you know. Oh, it was just, and when we stop and encourage women to really look at how far they've already come, and to really celebrate those successes along the way, it builds more success. Success builds success.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, Alec. Lots of time for you. We've still got more than 15 minutes to answer questions, specific questions that you have. Jump in, or Danielle, if you would like to check in with the chat.
Sure. Lots of questions in here, and it's nice that we have some time to go through them. So I'll start at the top. Tanya had a couple more questions. So one was about the loan program. So the $150,000 loan that we offer, is it a loan format, or can it also be a line of credit?
It's a great question. Because we're not a bank, we don't have a line of credit tool. So the only product that we have is a 5-year term loan. So the $150,000 would be amortized over a 5-year period. You can pay the loan back at any time with no penalties. So, you know, year one and you're wildly successful and you don't want to be making those loan payments and paying, you can pay the loan out. Not only will we make sure there's no penalties, you'll get flowers. We send you flowers when you pay out your loan.
Can I jump in on this line of questioning too, and just ask, you talked a little bit about being a viability lender instead of, I forget the other term. A formula lender. Yeah. So somewhat similar to Community Futures. Do you have, can you speak to sort of average interest rates? You've said it's a 5-year term. Do the interest rates really vary? We know that there's no minimum credit score required, but talk a little bit about your interest if you're able to.
Sure. So we have a sliding scale of interest, is prime plus between 2 and 5. So right now prime is 2.34%. So the highest rate we would charge would be 7.35%. And the lowest rate would be 4.35%. So it's based on risk. So there's a startup business typically would be at the higher end of the scale. It's a higher risk. And if there's no security, like on an EAC loan, it would be at the higher end. But our maximum is prime plus 5, and our minimum is prime plus 2. Those are very low interest rates for a business loan.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Great. So thanks for that question. There's another one here. So it says, you work with startups that have projected revenues. I am working with FCC for my farm loan, but want to work with Women's Enterprise Center to build relations in the same field and learn from other women. Please, yeah. So FCC, I'm thinking Farm Credit Canada might be FCC.
Yes.
So if I understand the question, is it, can you work with both of us? So is the question for a loan or for the other services, connecting with other women?
Tanya, if you could chime in, that would be helpful. If not, I think, speaking to the fact that we do work with multiple lenders might be helpful in this context.
Okay, so if it's in the context of a loan, yes, we could work with that. We absolutely could work with Farm Credit Canada. We would need to have the introduction from you to say, let's look at if there's a potential partnership here.
Yeah, great. Okay, so there is another question here from Melissa. So she says, I'm an immigrant with her permanent resident status from the UK, currently residing in the UK while I set up her online business. I came home in spring last year as my grandmother was very sick. She passed away during COVID lockdown. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm still to return to Vancouver due partially to COVID, but also because I'm developing my business and want to launch before I return to Canada. I plan to come back in the spring/summer next year and aim to have an online interior design business that I can offer in person throughout BC. Do you have any advice on options available? Also recommend any resources that I could be looking at in the meantime. Thank you.
Okay. That's a great question. If the question is, do we have resources available? Absolutely, yes. Our online resources are downloadable. So if you're looking at, well, as Alec mentioned, setting up like with our web names webinar, all of those webinars are downloadable, free of charge. You can just go right to our website and download them no matter where you're living. You don't even have to be a female entrepreneur. Anybody can download any of those resources. In terms of a business loan, you would not qualify while you're out of the country. You would need to be residing in British Columbia. So for the business loan, you would need to be living in BC. Does that answer that question?
I think it does.
Yeah.
And Melissa, if there's anything else, please feel free to chime in with a follow-up question there. Thank you for that. And again, so sorry about your grandmother. Okay, so Nanette has a question. Does the business have to be a startup, or will you assist with purchasing an existing business?
It's a great question. Yes, absolutely. Lots and lots of our loans clients are buying a business. Yes. Yeah. So we'd be looking at, a copy of the purchase agreement. Those are all the pieces that would be essential. Part of the application, as well as the business plan, would be a copy of the purchase agreement and the financials, the financial history of the business. So if it's an existing business and you're buying it, you want, as well as we want, to know that it's viable. That's part of that viability testing.
Right. And so say someone is funding it without a loan, would we still help them with that business purchase decision?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've got great support. You can talk to a business advisor. We can send you some resources on a checklist when you're buying a business, things to think about, things to prepare for, what to look for. As a business advisor, I often ask people when they say, well, I'm buying this business for, $65,000. And I say, well, how did you arrive at that price? I don't know. That's what they said they were asking for it. So we can help you to come, to really take a look at, how to value a business, maybe looking at getting a professional business valuator, why that's important, why the historical financials are so important in buying a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. All right. So Jennifer was asking about our interest rate. So Dawn did share our scale, prime +2 to prime +5. And Dawn, I'm not sure how often you have these conversations, but definitely in client service, we get calls and people are doing a lot of research around which loan to go with. And with anything, it's a really great strategy to look at 3 different options. And build yourself a bit of a decision table. So what are the interest rates? But beyond interest rates, there are other things to look at, like fees. Like, what if you have a seasonal business and can't make those monthly payments? What if you make most of your sales in the summer? Is there flexibility around that loan? And that's something that Women's Enterprise Center does offer. Lots of our clients have seasonal businesses. So looking beyond the interest rate, sometimes we get hung up on that. But is there an additional fee if I want to pay off my loan, or what are some of those other things to look at? So it's a great strategy to look at 3 different options and then see which one is best for you.
It's brilliant advice, and it's an important part of, it's like having a mortgage. You shop around. You want to make sure that you're taking all the things into consideration. It's brilliant advice, Danielle. Yep.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I just want to ask a question with your loan. One of the big things I think as a early business owner that you're working on is building your credit for when your company grows and having better borrowing possibilities. Does your loan program report to Credit Bureau? Is
Yes.
that something, right?
Yes.
So there's opportunity to build your credit with this loan as
Yes. Yeah. It's all reported through Equifax.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And can I jump in with another question about your loan program?
Good.
So again, going back to viability lender, that's quite similar language to what Community Future uses. And aside from your organization, of course, being specifically focused on women entrepreneurs, can you speak a little bit about the similarities and the differences between Community Future's lending program and your lending program, and why one might be a fit over the other? What differentiates those two?
I think with Community Futures, what you want to do with Community Futures is do a comparison, as Danielle suggested. What is the interest rate? I'm not going to tell you what Community Futures interest rate is. So you want to check those things. You want to check security, how much security, how much equity. So there may be some similarities. There may be a few slight differences that can affect your decision. One of the things that Community Futures can do is know the community that you are in, and that's where we often will partner with Community Futures, because they know the community. They say, no, we know that this community needs sushi, right? I don't know that. Danielle doesn't know that. Our business advisors might not know that Duncan needs another sushi shop, right? Your Community Futures has that local knowledge. Women's Enterprise Center has the support pieces that are directly tied for our loans client. That's where a difference is. So, as I mentioned, the mentoring, the business training, all of the, having a business advisor assigned throughout the length of your loan and beyond through your growth stages, I think is definitely one of our strengths.
Great, thank you.
Wonderful. And I'm mindful of time, and we do have a few more questions, and then some upcoming training and resources I want to tell you about. So if we can kind of fire these off, Dawn, and get through them quickly, if that's possible.
And if we're not able to finish all the questions today, you can send them. We're going to show you on our very last slide, inquiry. You can type out your question and someone will get back to you. Okay, next question.
Okay, so rapid fire, here we go. And if I might just jump in to make it fast. So
Okay.
Tammy was asking, do you have resources to help build a really strong business plan? Yes, we've got a session called the Starting a Business Info Session, which is an hour long that goes front to back, all the sections that you need to include in your business plan. It is free. It is hosted every 2 weeks. So I encourage you to send us an email at inquiry@, and I personally will respond to that email and we'll let you know how to sign up for that training opportunity. Melissa is asking what prime means when we're talking about interest rates. Dawn, could you jump in with that?
Sure. Prime is the rate that is set by the Bank of Canada, that the banks use as their baseline lending rate. So it's the starting point.
Great. Nanette has questions about equity before providing a loan. And Dawn, I wonder if we should talk about our business loan info session.
Sure. It's a great question because it gets complicated sometimes. So equity, security, collateral, all those terms, fees, what are the fees? How does it all work? How do you determine? We have every other Tuesday, it's called a business loans information session. If you look on our website and you click on loans, you'll see that it's a live session. It's by phone, not video, it's by phone. And you can ask questions and a business advisor will work right through how does our loans program work? What do you need to apply? What is security? Do I need security? How much security? What is security? What is equity? How much equity? All those questions. It also helps you to be more prepared if you're going to go and talk to your bank, because now you understand all of that terminology before you speak with any lender. But certainly it gives you all the details of how our loans program works.
Wonderful. And we'll do one more question and then a wrap up. Jennifer has some questions about the RRRF loan. And if you apply for $40,000 and only use $30,000 and you paid all back, do you still get that granted? So if I'm understanding that question correctly, yes. You can use whatever you need in the business. If you get that loan and you pay it back in time, you can still get that 25% granted.
Grant.
Wonderful.
So it's Jenny here. Can I clarify my question there?
Yes.
Do we have time quick? So if you were granted the $40,000, but you used, say, $30,000, do you still qualify for the grant of up to $40,000, even though you actually really only used $30,000 of that grant?
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm asking. Yeah.
Okay. Here's an important distinction. The RRRF is not a grant; it's a loan.
Yes. Yeah. Understand that. But
Yeah.
then there's a
25% of the amount that you are lent, you can not pay back.
Right. So I guess what I'm asking is if you get approved for $40,000, but you use only 30, right? Because the 10,000, you decided not to purchase this or not to purchase that. Do you still, because you applied for the 40, is it possible that you may be granted that 25% on the 40,000 still?
Yes, because you just pay it all back, right?
I see. Okay. Thanks.
You don't use it. And at the end of the term, you pay back you've paid up the 30,000 that you've used. You give back the 10.
Yeah.
And 25% of that 40 is yours to keep.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I have to go. My client just came. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Alec, I don't know if we can go back one slide. I just wanted to quickly share about some upcoming training opportunities, and I'll pass it back over to you. So these are some upcoming webinars. We talked a lot about the mentoring, but the We Create BC campaign is happening right now. It is to celebrate women entrepreneurs around the province. So we invite you to follow the hashtag We Create BC, and we are working with different organizations around the province to help elevate these stories of women entrepreneurs. And Alec, I would love to chat with you about a community partnership on that campaign. But this is an invitation to celebrate women entrepreneurs and wave that flag and really encourage one another to share those stories. There's an event that is happening on International Women's Day, which is November 19th. So this campaign is happening up until that date.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay. We are at, sorry, Dawn, did you need to jump
No,
in?
I was just going to say the other two are ones that we've mentioned. There's webinars coming up, and also the virtual peer mentoring group in Victoria. So again, those are on our website as well.
Excellent, excellent. And I'd encourage everybody to, when you go on the website, sign up for the e-news. I have myself, and it's always got great reminders and great info on the webinars that they're hosting, when some of their mentor programs are kicking off, and also some of those great features of other success stories and celebrating women in business, which we need to do more of. So we are at time now. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you Danielle and Dawn for a very informative, I think inspiring and energizing session. I know I'm looking forward to utilizing some of these resources myself, just so that I can understand more how Women's Enterprise Center works and better pass that information on to our members, our women entrepreneur members here in the Cowichan, of which there are several. I'm gonna now end the recording. This will be shared on our YouTube channel, and we will share that on social media so you can share with your members all over BC as well. And yes, if you're interested in getting a PDF of the presentation today, you can either contact the email that was displayed on that last slide, or you can reach out to the Duncan Cowichan Chamber. I've got a copy of that as well. And thank you very much, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Danielle.
Yeah, thank you, Alec, for this opportunity and the partnership. We look forward to connecting with you guys soon.
Great. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, bye for now.